Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Editorial. Okay, today I have a very boring topic for you. It is a very boring topic, believe me you. But the fact is, I will urge you to listen to this. Because these are topics that matters to you. These are topics that matters to your future, the future of your children. These are topics that matter to our democracy. It is important we know about these topics. It's important we have knowledge about these topics. And it is very, very important that you have an individual view on this topic. So that is why I get these topics at the risk of, knowing that there may not be much viewers to watch this. Now, let me come to the topic directly. I am going to talk to you about election commissioner. I am going to talk to you about how is an election commissioner chosen, chief election commissioner and an election commissioner chosen. I'm going to talk to you about what are the roles and responsibility of an election commissioner, chief election commissioner. I'm going to talk to you about what was the Supreme Court view for choosing the election commissioner. I'm going to talk to you about what is the government order on choosing the election commissioner. And I'm going to talk to you about how important an election commissioner is to our Indian democracy. Let's get right into the show. Okay. See, first of all, let me tell you what exactly was the controversy and then I will come to the subject. Election commissioner in India is normally chosen by the president. Now, whenever you hear this word normally chosen by the president, you need to understand that the president normally chooses the election commissioner with the advice from the Prime Minister and his cabinet. So technically, it is the Prime Minister of India who will then decide who is the election commissioner. This is how election commissioner, chief election commissioner, etc. was chosen. Now, there was a landmark judgment from the Supreme Court in the case of Anup Baranwal and Union of India, where the Supreme Court said that, listen, you know what? You should choose the chief election commissioner and election commissioner in the same way you choose a CBI director, for instance. Which means that you should be having a leader of the opposition, you should be having the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice of India. Three of them put together should choose the election commission. Election commissioner and chief election commissioner. CEC and EC, election commission. Fair, correct, very correct. Why did the court say that? The court said that because the election commission is the most important thing of a country, of a democratic country, a country which wants to see a fair election. And if that particular person is nominated by the Prime Minister, which means the sitting government, the ruling government, if he nominates or he or she, whoever it is, nominates the election commissioner and the election commission, then finally that election commissioner and the election commission will be stooge. The election commissioner will do exactly what the ruling party wants it to do. Chances are. So the court said no, it has to be a fair body that chooses the election commissioner and the chief election commissioner. This is what the court said. Now, let us first understand what is election commissioner. I'll give you a small background about election commissioner. You see, an election commissioner of India is an autonomous constitutional authority responsible for administering union and state election processes in India. It was established in accordance to Constitution on the 25th January 1950, celebrated as National Voters' Day. The Secretariat of the Commission is in New Delhi. This is what the Election Commission is. Okay, so they conduct state and union elections. Now, the role of Election Commission is to administer elections to the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and state legislative assemblies in India, and the offices of the president and the vice president of the country. It is not concerned with elections to panchayat, municipalities and states. For this, the Constitution of India provides a separate state election commission. So, election commission is bothered about Lok Sabha elections, Rajya Sabha elections, state legislative elections, The elections of the president and the vice president. This is what they're bothered about. ये जो पंचायत election है, municipal election है, doesn't come under EC, doesn't come under election commission. ठीक है ना? So specifically for these 4 elections, the state election commission that looks after panchayat election and local municipality elections and all of that. ठीक है. Now let's talk about the powers of the election commission. The election commission have administrative powers, which is the election commission can determine the territorial areas of the electoral constituencies throughout the country on the basis of Delimitation Commission Act of the Parliament. They can define the electoral areas of the country based on the delimitation. I have done a separate show on delimitation, explaining to you what delimitation is. Please check that show. I will try and attach a link to that. Please watch that show. You will broadly understand what delimitation is. But for this discussion, so election commission executes and determines the territorial areas. Now, the election commission prepares a periodical revised electoral rolls and to register all eligible voters. Acha, ye jo voter card and all that we get, these voter cards and all registering us as voters and eligible people of India as voters and all comes under the election commissioner. It is their job to ensure that our names are there in the voting list. So that's their job, to grant recognition to political parties and allot election symbols to them. A very important job. Remember what happened in Maharashtra? The Uddhav Thackeray and Shinde faction, they were both stake claimed in Shiv Sena. Finally, the election commission decided that, Shinde will get both the name and the symbol. So these are decisions that election commission takes. Election commission ensures a level playing field for the political parties in election fray through strict observation by them of model code of conduct evolved with the consensus of political parties. Now this is the most important job they do. What they do is they keep a watch on the election. They supposedly are supposed to try to ensure that the election is done freely and fairly. They are the people who impose the model code of conduct. They are the people who ensure that the model code of conduct, which is agreed by in consensus by all the political parties, they are the people who ensures that the model code of conduct is put into practice. So end of the day, like I told you, election commission is possibly the most important body when it comes to the democratic setup of our country. Election commission is the most important body when it comes for a free and fair election, which is the basis of our democracy. So, election commission is a very important body. Now, election commission also has advisory and quasi-judicial functions. Let me tell you those functions. Under the constitution, the commission has advisory jurisdiction in the matter of post-election disqualification of sitting members of parliament and state legislature. Post-election disqualification, if you have done something wrong, if there is some issues, if there is a complaint, if they find out that what the act that you've done is wrong, then they can disqualify you. They have that powers to do that. So that's why they are called quasi-judicial functions. They have advisory jurisdiction and quasi-judicial functions. Okay, the opinion of the commission in all such matters is binding on the president or, as the case may be, the governor to whom such opinion is tendered. Acha, it's a very important factor. You see, it is not that, when I say advisory function, which means that, the election commission goes and tells the president, Baba, sack this person has to be suspended, this person has to be disqualified, and president will say, okay, let me think about it, let me get back to you. No. That doesn't work that way. When the election commission tells the president, disqualify him, that's it. It is binding. Okay, so that's a very important and very powerful position here. So if the election commission says this man is out, that man is out. Now, further, the cases of person found guilty of corrupt practices at elections which comes before the Supreme Court and the High Court are also referred to the Commission for its opinion on the question as whether to such person shall be disqualified, if so, for what period. This is the advisory function. When it comes in front of the Supreme Court, when a case of corruption, when a case of malpractice, all of this comes in front of the Supreme Court, the High Court, then the High Court and the Supreme Court uses Election Commission as an advisory function, where they ask them, कि भाई बताओ ये क्या है? What do you think this is? What is your recommendation on this particular case? And also, what should we be done about this? So those are the advisory functions. The last important point is the commission has the power to disqualify a candidate who has failed to lodge an account of his election expenses within time and in the manner prescribed by the law. You see, there are prescribed amount of money that a candidate can spend. If you spend more money than that prescribed amount, the candidate can be disqualified. Now, whether that happens or not in India is a big question mark. And do the candidate actually spend the prescribed amount of money that has to be spent is a bigger question mark. And what is the Election Commission's involvement, and how much do they get involved? How much can they stop people from throwing money, from bribing people, from doling out money for votes and all that? Is a bigger question mark. All these are question marks. But the fact remains that according to the Constitution and according to the responsibility of the Election Commission, the Election Commission is supposed to keep a watch on who is spending what, and they can disqualify the person who spends more money. So now these are the powers and functions of the Election Commission of India. ठीक है ना? So we understood that the Election Commission was initially appointed by the President of India with the advice from the Prime Minister and his cabinet, which means the Prime Minister would appoint the Election Commission of India. Technically, I mean, for all practical purposes. We understood that the Supreme Court says, no, you shouldn't, because this is one of the most important functions of our democracy. And how can Prime Minister who belongs to a political party, the political party which is the ruling party, how can the Prime Minister and the President together decide who the Election Commissioner is, or who sits in the Election Commission? So wrong. They said, listen, what we do for CBI directors, for instance, we'll do the same thing here. We'll have the leader of the opposition, we'll have the Prime Minister, and we'll have a Chief Justice of India sitting down and deciding who the Election Commission is and who the Election Commissioners are and who the Chief Election Commissioner is. So this is what happened. The government now issued an order. The government says, and long and short, I will tell you, the government says, जब हमने NJAC बोला था, when we said that we want to be involved, the government wants to be involved in appointing of judges, तुमने allow किया? Did the court allow us? What did the court say? The court said, no, we want autonomy. Now why are you interfering in our functions? Electing or deciding on an election commissioner is purely a legislative job. Appointing an election commission, commissioners and chief commissioner, is our job. It is our right. Why are you interfering now? So we will not allow the Chief Justice to intervene. But theek hai. We understand the spirit in what you are telling us, the government says. So the government says what we will do is, we will change it slightly. We will maintain the leader of opposition, the Prime Minister of India, and one member of the cabinet, one minister of the cabinet. Three of them will make the panel to elect or to decide on the election commission, that is the chief election commissioner and the election commissioners. We will decide that. This is what the government says. And this is where the bill was tabled in Rajya Sabha. Now let me get a little in depth on this. You see, while it is better, what the government has done, I should say, is better than what it was practicing, which is the Prime Minister and the President deciding who the election commissioner is and who the chief election commissioner was. So it is better than that process. There is no doubt about it. At least here, you are involving the leader of the opposition from Lok Sabha. But you see, more often than not, what happens is, in a panel where there are three people and two people are of the same party and the third person is the third person, the chances are that till such time that it is a complete unanimous verdict, and only then can the verdict pass. Unless and until that term is kept into mind, the fact is that two people will tend to overrule the third person's decision, isn't it? Two people will tend to overrule. जो Prime Minister बोलेगा, so what do you think the Minister is going to say? The Cabinet Minister is going to say. See, I am telling you what I mean is very simply. Think of it logically. It is not really three people. It is not Leader of the Opposition, Lok Sabha, and Prime Minister and a Cabinet Minister. It is not like that. It is 2 is 1, because Cabinet Minister and the Prime Minister will exactly do what they want, because that they are from the same party and they are from the same cabinet. Only the Leader of Opposition will be an outsider. Now, what happens if there is two of them says yes and Leader of the Opposition says no? What happens? Is that going to be a hung verdict, or is it majority wins? If it is majority wins, then it is a joke. It is a joke, because what happens is the Prime Minister and the Minister will say yes and end of story, matter over. Then whether you have Leader of Opposition or whether you have anybody there, how does it matter? Whereas in a case where there was a Chief Justice of India, a Prime Minister and a Leader of Opposition, at least 3 of them were representing 3 different interest centers: judiciary, the government and the legislature. They were representing 3 different interest centers. So at least one could have the comfort that at least 3 of them are going to think differently. And if they are agreeing to something or disagreeing to something, it is not because of common interest. It is because of a common value that they see for the country. You get my point? So that's the point I wanted to raise in this particular decision. But that being said, I still say that what they are saying is better than what it was before, where it was completely Prime Minister and the President who used to pick up the commission. And it is better than that. But again, this is not the apt thing, because you see, a lot of doubts were casted an election commission and election commissioners. A lot of decisions were questionable. A lot of decisions. Like I told you yesterday, if a Speaker of the House is seen as biased, then democracy cannot prevail in that Parliament House. Democracy cannot prevail. We are killing democracy if the Speaker himself is biased. If the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commission is seen as biased, then that is death of democracy. So that's why I thought I should get this topic to your notice. I know it was not very interesting, but that being said, it is important, like I told you. If you can, please share these informations to as many people as you can. It is important people know about this. And also, please subscribe to our channel. We need more subscribers. We really need more subscribers. So please subscribe to our channel. Press the join button of our channel so that we can pay our bills. Your money, we don't get advertising. So your money is what helps us pay our bills. So please help us pay our bills. Please join our channel. Please contribute to our channel through by being a member. So please do that. And till I see you next time. That's tomorrow at 10. Namaskar.